Thank you very much. Good evening. I am Errol Lewis, the political anchor of New York One News, and a proud adjunct faculty member and in the urban reporting program at the J School. Big shout out to all of the alums here. I see several folks who used to sit in my classroom. I could not be more proud of all of you. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our next awardee. Like many New Yorkers, I felt the presence of Julie Sandorf long before we actually met. In the 1980s, I was working in community development, advocating for and working with credit unions in low-income neighborhoods around the country and here in the city. And at the time, some of the work brought me in contact with an extraordinary group called the Mid-Bronx Desperados that was legendary in our circles. It was founded by citizen activists who were living through a nightmare of arson-fueled wholesale destruction and abandonment in the Bronx, including a notorious, devastated stretch of Charlotte Street that two presidential candidates, Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, both used as the backdrop for speeches decrying the plight of urban America. Now, as it turns out, the Mid-Bronx Desperados was the place where a young Julie Sandorf chose to work right after graduate school. The story is told of how on a dark night in 1982, she was on hand in a vacant lot in the South Bronx in the middle of the night, waiting for trucks to arrive with the first pair of the group's prefabricated model houses. She brought along her husband, an unassuming anesthesiologist named Michael Weinberg, to whom she needed to explain why there were no lights on in any of the buildings. And Julie was there to greet members of a local group providing security. They were called the Nighthawks, hired by the Desperados to protect the site. And no, they were not a singing group. This was a long way from suburban Long Island, where Julie grew up. And I give you that backstory because many of Julie's admirers, and there are a lot of them here tonight, they don't realize that the elegant and affable and respectable philanthropist that we're honoring tonight has served her time in the trenches. She has been in the fight to save this city at a time when many gave up, and she's been on a long-term mission to repair and rebuild our neighborhoods. She is tenacious, and she took that tenacity into one community development organization after another, including the Local Initiative Support Corporation, the Pew Charitable Trust, and the groundbreaking Corporation for Supportive Housing, which she founded and ran for a decade, and remains to this day a national leader in developing housing and services for the homeless. She has spearheaded a historic transformation of our city's libraries, including the creation of the first ever library awards, which have grown into a citywide phenomenon where branches compete to see who can do the best job of bringing knowledge, literacy, and civic culture to every corner of New York, all for free. And most of all, it is our good fortune, meaning not just the J School, but the field of journalism, that Julie's formidable talents include a deep concern for the future of local news. As president of the Revson Foundation, she has delivered time and time again, supporting the Center for Community and Ethnic Media, funding a major expansion of WNYC, supporting City Limits, and helping ProPublica create its first local desk devoted to investigative reporting right here in New York City. And then outside of the spotlight, she has supported workshops and quiet conversations at the J School about how to improve coverage of New York City and state government. She is fiercely committed to Jewish culture, not just to observe and celebrate it, but to be a living example of the ancient principle of tikkun olam, to repair the world. She is fiercely committed to the city that we love, especially the neediest among us. She is skilled and calm and fearless in the moment. She is thoughtful and she is visionary when it comes to planning. She would have made a great journalist. But the main point is that Julie gets it. She has the mind of a scholar and the vision and patience of an architect. She is one of the people who is constantly thinking of ways to make our city better, to make sure more voices get heard. My wife, Juanita, and I are proud to call her and Michael our friends. And I was happy and grateful when Julie asked me to serve on the Revson board, even though it means I don't get to participate in anything related to the J School. I have to leave the room. There are major philanthropists here. It's a tribute to her standing in the field that we have Darren Walker here, the president of the Ford Foundation, Charles Revson from the Revson Foundation, Cheryl Cohen-Efron, the chair of our board, is here as well. Julie says that her funding philosophy is to make big bets on good people. And I will say that with tonight's award for distinguished service to New York, the J School is returning that favor. We are betting on one of the best, and this one is a sure thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Sandorf.